All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, super intelligent shades of the colour sky blue, pink, however you identify, we really don't give a fuck. You're all welcome here unless you're going to vote the wrong way, in which case you can fuck right off. Anyway, it's my absolute pleasure, my privilege to welcome my very good friend Rob Goodwin. And we're really here just to have a chit-chat, have an office hour, and if you guys want to ask us some questions or make some commentary of some kind, you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, whatever. Yeah, pretty much.
It's great to be back. It's been way too long. I'm finally back on YouTube's greatest channel. It's a great thing. And fun fact, this is the only YouTube channel that I am a member of. So I just wanted to be clear with that. Yeah,
very good.
So well, I can get some little
Ted, thanks
kudos
you
from you on that.
Yeah, Ted, thanks you for that. Because the thing is, I won't pay him as appearance fees because they're exorbitant. So it's good that, yeah. Anyway, Jonathan's in the house. Good to see you, Jonathan. That's Master Sergeant Jonathan of the Meat Militia, otherwise known as Carnival Muscle. Good to see you here.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Good man, good man.
Who else is in the house? We also have Lieutenant or Lieutenant General Mark Linford of the Meat Militia. Good to see you, Mark. You weren't here first, though, so you're going to have to report to Ted afterwards for, well, he's getting his bucket of soapy frogs ready as we speak, frankly. Ohio is representing. Good to see. Oklahoma's in the house. Good to see you. The feral grandma is here. We like us some feral grandma up in here, don't we? Always good fun. Paola is here. Good to see you. Nurse Rebecca's here. We love us some Nurse Rebecca up in here because, well,
Rebecca.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun.
I love her. She represents over in the group, so that's great.
Yep, nice to see. Dan's here. Good to see you. We've got some Kiwis in the house. Lovely.
Nice.
Kia ora iho, ke te pihi a koe, ke te pai. That's just some local lingo for those of you that don't know. Right, who else is here? Josephine's in the house. Right, anyway, you know the drill. If you want to ask questions, put a big capital Q with a colon, write the question and suffix it with a question mark, because you see, Ted isn't so good at finding them otherwise, are you, Ted? No, he's also lost his voice a bit. Well, I say he's lost his voice a bit, Ted, but it's not actually really true. And maybe later on he might say one or two things about one or two things. Anyhow, there are no questions. So, Rob, what do you want to talk about?
It's just good to be back. It's been a long time. The last time that I was on your fantastic show, it was kind of a weird transition place for me because I was about a year or so removed from competitive bodybuilding, trying to find my place in the world, and went through some personal battles and some crazy shit, but emerged from that on the other side. And I'm happy to report that I've never been happier, never been healthier. And I guess the best way to describe it is in my elder state that I'm in my ripe, seasoned age, I made the determination that it was probably important for me to pursue things that were more aligned with me being a healthier, more high-performing individual that focused more on health and longevity than just pure aesthetics. Now, I enjoyed the whole bodybuilding thing for the near decade that I did it, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, but I knew that this new chapter in my life needed to be more focused on health and longevity and really dialing in the diet that was more conducive to that. So it's been great for myself, it's been great for my family, and it's been outstanding for business. And I'm actually doing a little bit more concise research and putting more of an effort into the YouTube channel. So, and that's just recently happened. So I took some deep dives there. You know, my channel used to be just me rambling for an hour, and that probably got old to a lot of people. So now in the short attention span universe that we live in, I realize that I need to shorten things up, shut the hell up, and get to the point. So now my goal is to have videos that are hard hitting and, try to get that shit in 15 minutes or less, knowing that I'm still going to get everybody's panties up in a bunch because I've become quite polarizing, and some even call me an asshole, but there are also plenty out there that appreciate what I do, and I'm happy to be contributing. So there you go.
Excellent. Very, very good. Rebecca wants to know if you're coming to Charlotte Meetup this weekend.
It's this weekend?
There you go. Apparently he's not, if you didn't know that.
No. I'm sure I've got some home improvement honeydew horse shit that I've already been committed to by lovely Mrs. Goodwin, and I did not clear that with her. So unfortunately, make sure you message me or keep me in the loop for the next one, and I'll be there because I'm just a hop, skip, and a jump from Charlotte. So would love to do that.
Awesome. Very, very good. I think Ted's found his voice.
Nice.
Yeah. Let's see whether he's found his voice or not.
Bollocks!
Would seem so. Yeah.
Well, I don't feel cheated now. I got that experience. So
Good.
It was worth it. It was worth it. Yeah.
So this longevity thing you're talking about, you're not listening to that Sinclair character, are you?
No. I love challenges. That's not going to change for me. And if I'm not pushing myself to the limit, then something's wrong and I feel empty and I feel like there's just a bunch of dead space that I got to fill. So still lifting heavy, but more of an emphasis on not just pure muscle, but muscle capacity, keeping my strength as high as I can. I'm also doing a lot of rucking. So that's, if you see, the guy in my area that's walking up hills with 70 pounds on his back, doing all kinds of silly shit there, that's me. And the good thing is it really has contributed to a huge uptick in my overall health markers. Bodybuilding, as we know, and I would freely admit, is not the healthiest endeavor on earth. Bart, you know that as much as anybody. And so that shift has really pushed me to be healthier. I'm 190 pounds. I'm no longer that guy that gets up to 230 pounds and can't tie his damn shoes.
Yeah.
And so I am putting more of a focus on not only my strength, but also my capacity, my endurance. And of course, keeping up with a very strict, for me, carnivore diet. And I still get a lot of heat from that because I'm not super dogmatic about it. And I think that's kind of the thing that's put me on the map is I'm the anti-dogma guy. And I think that's okay. And I just recently also did a video where I used a clip of you, the illustrious professor, where you were schooling Lily Kane on a few matters. And it was a couple of things that I've been echoing for quite some time, talking about the definition of a carnivore diet and the hypercarnivore definition. And I used that clip to say, see, there you go. The man that I defer to for, when I'm unsure about things, just said it. So,
well, I would be schooling Lily if Lily was actually listening, because to school someone, they've actually got to have their ears tuned in. The thing I found is my grandmother used to say this to me, rest her soul. And I still remember it, and I'll always remember it. She always said to me, son, you got two ears and one mouth. That is the proportion in which they ought to be used.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you think you know everything, and even at my age, if you think you can't learn something or have a change of heart, then you're really doing shit wrong. But,
well, I personally, Rob, sorry to interrupt, I actually do identify as faultless and infallible, and anyone that doesn't respect my authority in that regard is therefore a bigot and is indulging in hate speech.
Well, clearly, me being of many faults, I must defer to someone like yourself who is, in fact, faultless, so I can get shit right, and I'm not spewing out misinformation because, misinformation can be a punishable offense these days. To line up with your political jokes that you've been making, which I'm totally on board with. But yeah, I mean, the funny thing is we started this new carnivore group on Facebook, and it jettisoned up to 23,000 some members as of this recording, and it's just been insane. But the cool thing about it is probably the overwhelming majority of the people in that group and the people that interact with me on YouTube and on social media like the fact that I just tell it like it is. And for me, talking to people about their diets and about their training, there's no one size fits all. Everything isn't neatly packaged, and everything needs to be tailored to the individual. So even though I'm not on a lion diet, I'm not on an all meat diet, I do let other foods trickle in, but they are the foods that I tolerate well, the foods that might lend to my personal performance. But at the same time, that amount is a scant amount. But because it's a scant amount, people just think that they amplify it to I'm just eating potato chips and mountains of potatoes and pounds of vegetables, which I am not. But I do understand that there are certain individuals out there that, in terms of sustainability, it's not going to be possible for them to adhere to the very trendy, all meat, 100% all the time diet. So you have to take everybody on an individual basis and determine what works best for them. And I have clients that come to me that actually do spectacular with a small percentage of food outside the strict, carnivore realm, the all meat realm. And I have clients that do not. So we act accordingly to that individual's needs, and we do it with a logical, rational approach that's tested. And it seems to work out very well. And I think people appreciate that in a world where everybody's wagging their fingers at everybody. And that's the one thing about the carnivore space that I don't like, is there are so many ways we can all unite to help other people. But in many other groups that I see on Facebook and other YouTube pages, it's just people shouting from the rooftops that if you're not doing everything exactly like they're doing, then you have your membership card revoked and you're no longer a part of the club. And I just think that's insanity. And we all need to unite together to help people resolve some issues and not act like a bunch of babbling, whiny fucking vegans.
Yep, absolutely. Before we get to the question about your top 10 veggies there, we will come back to that in a second. Yeah, I mean, this is exactly...
See, it's why am I getting asked about my top 10 veggies? Like, I'm not the veggie guy. Although, if you put onions on a flip-flop, I'd eat the damn thing. I will say that. So onions are on the list, but there are very few left. But
right.
Okay, but so, anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Bart.
No, ahead. Not at all. I was just going to say, I mean, this is what we're talking about. This is obviously a joke from Dan. You did it wrong. You never really were a bodybuilder. You did it wrong. Hand your card in, all of that sort of thing. And Ted also has commentary on that, of course. Of course he does. There it is.
Are you retarded?
Yes. Yeah. I deserve that.
Thank you, Ted.
That.
Thank you. Right,
Thanks,
so let's talk about your top 10 veggies then. Go
on. Onions. Sauteed cabbage that my wife makes with garlic and tons of copious butter. Then probably onions. And I know this qualifies technically as a fruit, but I will devour some sun-dried tomatoes. But really, honestly, there's not a whole lot. I do like to consume some fermented vegetables. I will occasionally do some some sauerkraut and fermented vegetables for gut health and gut flora, because they do not affect me poorly. But you give me raw greens or leafy greens and horse shit like broccoli and kale and all that, and I absolutely fall apart, which is one of the reasons why I started this journey some 15 odd years ago. So I'm not a big vegetable guy, but occasionally, on rare occasions, when one shows up that I do tolerate well, and if it just happens to go well with what meat I'm having with it, then yeah, I'll consume some. And I'm very unapologetic about that. And I think it's worth saying, I tell this story a lot just to make a point. I don't consume a lot of vegetable matter at all. I don't consume a ton of carbs, and I don't consume a ton of fruit. And if you were to look at my weekly intake of nutrition, my intake of foods outside meat and eggs and I've calculated it, it's somewhere between 2 and 6%. But for some reason, because I say it's okay to find a sustainable version of this for you, people start throwing daggers at me. So I think that's very, very unfair. But I told this story to a couple of clients, and I think on a recent YouTube video where I said, you know what? A couple of weeks ago, me and my wife had worked really hard on a home project. We're restoring a house. Don't ever do that, by the way. Kill yourself first. And it had been forever. And she said, you know what sounds really good? If we had a baked potato with that ribeye. And I said, you know what? It does sound good, because I haven't had a baked potato since I can remember. And here's the thing. Right before I had that baked potato, I was 190 pounds, 10% body fat, perfect blood work, felt phenomenal. And I ate that potato. Shortly after that potato, I was 190 pounds, 10% body fat, perfect blood work, and felt phenomenal. And I woke up the next morning and I was exactly the same. Now, if I were to let that cascade into regular bouts of eating foods like that, then the entire diet would shit the bed, and it would be justifiable to give me shit about that. But again, it's on rare occasions that I will step out of the carnivore realm. And because I am, I believe that carnivore technically is just, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I always default to you. Hypercarnivore is food, a diet that is comprised of 70% or more foods coming from animal-based sources. And then that other 30% is pretty much open to interpretation based on the foods that you tolerate or you can handle. And preferably, you want to make sure that anything outside of that 70% isn't foods that would make you, you're not eating like an asshole. You're not eating processed foods, seed oils, excess simple sugars, and the like. So when I do step out of that 70%, it's not just 30% automatically. For me, I push the slider to where it's 2, 3, 5%, and it's foods that I know that I tolerate well, that aren't complete processed horseshit, that I know I'm going to be just fine with, and I do that in very small amounts. And I'm also, I'm not going to apologize for the fact that I do very strenuous workouts. So if on a particular day I'm about to crush a heavy leg day, and then not too long after that, I'm going to put 70 pounds on my back and go ruck on hilly North Carolina terrain in 90-degree heat, I may consume a small amount of carbohydrates 30 minutes prior to that activity. It does benefit me. I know it doesn't benefit everyone. Some people don't like that. So guess what? Don't do it. But for me, I do get a net benefit from that. And by the time I'm done engaging in that activity, those fucking carbs are gone. And I'm not getting any ill effects from that. And then the remainder of my day is, you guessed it, all fat and protein. And I'm not going to apologize for that. So I think having that approach has been refreshing for a lot of people who follow me and who are in my group, because they don't have to feel like they have to apologize when the occasional dietary transgression occurs. And if they tiptoe outside the box and step out of that meat-only realm and do consume a small amount of foods that they tolerate. And lastly, people have to understand that it's not about how much. So it's not about how much or how little. It's about finding the precise amount required to give yourself the benefit based on your N=1 experiment with yourself. So that's just what I think, and that's what I do. And there are people out there that resonate with that. And the proof is based on the amount of feedback that I get. And I'm very proud of that.
Yeah. Look, I agree 100%, Rob, with everything you've just said. And I've never said otherwise, actually. In terms of that particular issue. Ted was just saying to me, though, however, because Ted is a bit of he's got a different attitude towards things. He was just telling me that he will be visiting your place late one evening, and he will bring his bucket of soapy frogs and that wetsuit with the bottom cut out. So,
well, if that son of a bitch shows up at my house, I'm giving him a hammer and a roll of duct tape, and we're getting to work, because we got lots to do where I live. So a word of advice to Ted, if I could give him any: don't come anywhere near my street, because my wife has got me engaged in so much home improvement horse shit. It would make your head spin. So just stay away, Ted. Stay away, brother.
I don't think so, Tim. That's what you should say. No. All right. What causes bad breath? Is it candida? How long strict carnivore until the bad taste in the mouth is gone? What bad taste in the mouth? Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any experience with that, but I've, my transition through so many years of being very ancestral in the way I eat, I think that has given me the benefit of that. I'd have to go way, way back and have somebody smell my breath to tell me if I previously had a problem. But I can say from anecdotal, interactions with clients that is one of the things that they say does clear up when they clean up their diets. And obviously, if you dig too deep into the ketone realm and you go too long in deep ketosis, you can have that ammonia acidic kind of a thing that comes out. But I also understand that self-corrects over time. You could correct me on that one, Bart.
No, it does. Absolutely, it does. Yep. Yeah. The other thing about keto breath, guys, if you're on a diet which is strictly carnivore, those of you that want to do that, and that's fine, you guys and girls, notice how I said guys and girls? Because you've got two options, all right?
There's two.
Just two?
There's two.
That's right. There are two options. You're this one or you're that one. You've got an innie or an outie. No, it's nothing to do with your innies or outies. It's to do with your chromosomes, but that's for another day. What we're talking about, breath.
Bart, you've went up another notch on my goat totem pole.
Oh, great.
Just with the few things you've said today. So
I'm happy about that.
If I wasn't already a huge fan and I didn't consider you my main mentor, you just went up another notch. And I'm not trying to kiss your ass. I love the fact that we line up on that shit as well.
Excellent. Of course. Yeah. All right. So yes, the keto thing, that's what we were talking about. If you're eating a diet which is based entirely on animal products, it's likely that you're eating more protein than someone who has an amount of plant material in their diet trying to be keto and chase ketones. That being the case, you will actually have less ketones than someone who is eating a little bit more carbs than you are, because of the gluconeogenic effect of some of the amino acids, which, as it turns out, is actually higher than what we previously thought.
Interesting.
So people that say the ultimate keto diet, the most keto diet possible, is the only meat and fat diet, bollocks. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I know somebody else who should have said that.
No, that's completely true, and I 100% agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
As somebody who was steeped in the keto craziness for so many years before ascending up to a more hypercarnivore diet, I completely understand that statement.
So Lotto retirement strategist suggests don't use mouthwash. I certainly would also say don't use mouthwash, especially any mouthwash that contains alcohols and, any of that kind of nonsense that many of these things do contain. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't ever use mouthwash. I make my own toothpaste with coconut oil and baking soda. And I think my wife uses some kind of a mint thing that she gets literally from our backyard where she plants it. And we don't use any sort of topical, store-bought lotions and shampoos and all that horse shit. And that's made a profound difference, truly. I don't mean to come off like some crazy hippie, but that's 100% a game changer for sure. Now, does bourbon count in that? Because I think my breath is better when I'm drinking a glass of bourbon on occasion. I don't know if there's any
I think my
correlation
breath
or
is
not.
better when I drink. Also, I think I'm funnier. I think I'm much more personable. I think wrong on all of these things, apparently. But
well, if you didn't think I could get any damn sexier, just put a bottle of bourbon in me and it just goes off the rails. So
right,
if you want to test me on that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Charming as hell on that.
Yep. All right. Good. We're talking about, there's talk in the background about fermenting onions now. Jesus, fermenting onions. Whew.
Why would you ruin an onion? I mean, come on. No, I have no idea. As far as the fermented vegetables, again, that's my wife's department. My wife deals with the garden that we have, our organic fruit bushes that we have, our fruit trees that we have. And I eat very little of that, but my kids love it. My grandson loves it. So I get copious amounts of fresh onions from the garden, and I think they're spectacular. And, like I said before, you could put onions on a turd and I'd probably eat it. But there aren't many vegetables out there that I enjoy, which was part of the reason why it made total sense for me to switch to a more carnivore lifestyle. Back in 2019, when I was competing in bodybuilding, more ketogenic variety, I was doing copious amounts of meat with vegetables. And I immediately made the correlation that I was gassy as shit. You didn't want to be in a room with me. I was always bloated. And when I subtracted all vegetable matter from my diet for 8 months, I think, during that contest prep, everything got better across the board, 100%.
Awesome.
And for that entire contest prep, it was all meat, poultry, eggs, and fish. And that was it. But, because it was contest prep, I would reduce the energy component as I got close to the stage. But and it raises an interesting question that I would like to ask you, Bart, because I've seen this phenomenon arise a while and I can't quite explain it. So when I'm working with myself or a client and I give them a pretty hefty amount of dietary fat in their diet, as one should, somewhere in the area of 60, 65, sometimes even 70% based on the individual. And that does get them to reach what seems to be, to me, almost like a set point in body composition. It's a very good set point. For example, let's say I give a male client a carnivore diet that's 60, 70% fat, 30% protein or in that area, and he reaches a very good level of body composition, but then it kind of stalls there. And with some of the athletes that I work with, I'll get a guy down to like 12% body fat. Yeah, he looks fantastic and he has phenomenal health. But in order for him to get to that sub 10 extremely lean look that some just want, I still have to reduce that fat energy component to get them to start to free up that small amount of remaining body fat that they have, much like I did when I was competing. So is there something from a physiological level that you almost reach a certain set point on a higher amount of fat, and then inevitably most people you're going to have to remove some of it?
There is, absolutely. It's a thing called hysteresis. If you want to use an electrical analogy, it's hysteresis. It's actually a homeostatic mechanism. It's encoded in your genes, whereby your genetic ideal is not much leaner than 15% as a male. As a female, it's 25%. Right? Notice again, there were two options there. Once again, just to make that really clear. So if you want to force your body under 15% as a male or 25% as a female, you have to work against your genes to get your body to achieve that, because it is not natural. You're doing that for aesthetic purposes. Fine, I understand that, but that's not ideal health-wise. And you have to force your body to do that. And the way to do it is to put yourself in a deficit in terms of mass of food being intaken. Nothing to do with the C word, mass, the M word.
Right.
So that's the answer, basically.
And that makes total sense, because I see regularly with clientele that if I get a woman down to 20, 22% body fat, she looks amazing. But if she wants to compete or has some particular extreme aesthetic goal, in order to get her down to that 13 to 15%, where we would like like a competitor, that style of body, we do have to dramatically reduce the energy component. And the same with men. And you were spot on. I could get down close to 10% on 60-some% fat. Yeah. But it's almost like a switch I had to flip, that if I'm going to go down to that, as you said, unnatural, unhealthy level of 4 or 5% body fat, which I had to do for competition, I had to dramatically dial down that energy component. And it got to a point, and this is a true story, and I may have said this in a previous interview with you, when I was 4 weeks out for competition, my wife had to lock everything that I wasn't allowed to eat into 3 giant coolers in my kitchen with padlocks, which was practically everything. In order for me to go from 9-10% down to 4%, I had to eat nothing but, egg whites, white fish, chicken breast, and it was fucking terrible. It was absolute terrible. Yeah. Which circles back to where we started this conversation. The whole reason I said, I cannot do this bodybuilding thing anymore, especially at my age. It was a good run, but now this is an unnatural state of being, and I'm not going to put my body through the abuse of trying to whittle my body fat down to 4% just to achieve some aesthetic goal that at the end of the day really isn't going to do much for me anymore. I had my run, I had my fun. Now it's time to do the things that are conducive to health and longevity and be able to pass that information along to the people who put their trust and faith in me as a coach.
Yeah, exactly. Challenge for you here, Rob. Challenge for you. No. Would you like to go rucking with US Army Master Sergeant Bavery?
I would be absolutely honored beyond belief to not only ruck with somebody, which is something I'm terribly passionate about because it's terrible and it sucks and it's awesome. To do that with somebody who has also served would be a phenomenal honor.
There you go. There you go, Rebecca. Tee it up in the background. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And you better warn the Master Sergeant that Rob is a beast. And he will keep up.
Oh, I'll keep up. I mean, I may be dying, but I'm not going to stop. So I do have that. I'm not the fastest. I'm not the strongest, but I'm like a wolf. I'm not the strongest. I'm not the meanest. I'm not the fastest, but I do not give up. So I got that going for me.
Yep. All right, geez, there's still a lot of talk about bad breath in the background. Incredible.
No, interesting. Why do I get bad breath and vegetables? Why is that on my interview? I mean, can we do something a little more exciting than bad breath and vegetables?
I don't know. Probably to do with the sugar and fiber and stuff in the veggies. I don't know, or some of the other chemicals, or your body's reaction in some way. Oxalate. Oxalate's the cause of everything, I'm told.
Yes, there we absolutely. Go. Yeah. Yeah.
Carnivore cured autism. Wow.
Carnivore cured my autism.
Okay. So cured, that's interesting. I also identify as a person with autism of a certain kind, and I feel like mine is vastly better, but I wouldn't say cured because I'm not sure there was anything wrong. It's just
is there such thing as a cured state from autism, or is it just dramatically reduced symptomology?
I don't know. I guess Jill, however it's pronounced, is probably suggesting that their symptomology is under control, which, I find...
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mine is too, I think. So there's N equals 2 of probably the different sorts of autism, of course, because, again, autism is one of these umbrella terms. It talks about hundreds of different things that are only related in that they are made manifest in the way a person presents and interacts with the world, the way they think, the way they're wired. if you like.
Yeah, and autism it's not always derogatory. I mean, it's not always an issue. There are some phenomenal benefits to that, depending on what your work relationship is, what you do for a living, what your gifts are. So yeah.
Absolutely. Is it possible to always be in ketosis, or does being in constant ketosis mean that we are starving to death? I ask because some people seem obsessed with chasing ketosis. Thanks.
I think it is important to not stay in deep long-term ketosis.
Perfect.
Personal opinion, I do not think it's a good thing long-term. I think it is important to bump out and then re-enter and have more metabolic flexibility. When I get clients that come to me that have severe issues, and when I say severe issues, generally it has to do with body composition. They'll say, listen, I need your help because the weight loss is stalled. I'm sleeping like shit. Nothing's going well. Da 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 da. They give me this laundry list of things. So I ask them some very simple questions, and then I determine that it's usually one of a few things. They've been in super long-term energy deficit, which is not a good thing. They've been in super long-term ketosis, which is not a good thing. They've done super long-term chronic intermittent fasting, not a good thing. Or they've done super long-term fasting, and then they start to have diminishing returns from that activity. And then when we reverse some of that behavior, we almost always see a benefit occur and things start to turn around. And this is going to piss a lot of people off. So pull your panties out of your butt and get ready for this one. I do have some people, and it's often mostly women that come to me in one of these states, these metabolic states. And they've been on super long-term lion-style diets or, all meat diets. And I will give them a tiny amount of carbohydrates 2 or 3 days a week, and we see a lot of the symptoms completely reverse and everything becomes better. So again, it's down to an individual basis, and it's based on that individual's personal needs and tolerances. And and it's all over the map. I've got clients that I would never recommend ever eat a fucking carb ever because they would completely fall apart. And with that, it's more of a way with the carnivore diet, it's how you can occasionally graduate out of the carnivore diet to small degrees to ultimately possibly make it more sustainable. But you also have to be very careful based on the amount of metabolic damage that you've incurred over the years. And you have to be very cautious. So I know it's a very long answer to a very simple question, but how do you feel about that, Bart?
Yeah, no, perfect. Again, absolutely perfect. There is no one-size-fits-all answer. People need to understand that when I make comments online about what the ideal human diet is, I have to comment on the basis of the high point of the bell-shaped curve, the bit in the middle, the mean value for any given person on average. Your mileage will vary in terms of what amount of carbohydrates you can tolerate and what amount of carbohydrates is ideal for you in your lifestyle. It may be non-zero. It's not going to be hundreds and hundreds of grams, Paul Salad, I don't know. It's not going to be that.
100%.
But it might be 10, 20, 30, maybe even 50 for you, depending on how much damage to your metabolism actually has occurred in your life hitherto for various...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, another part of my coaching and my ideology is I tell everybody that first you have to determine if you have a carb intolerance or a carb threshold. If you have a carb intolerance based on damage over time, then we need to greatly, if not completely, reduce carbohydrate matter completely, and then work on repairing the body over time because you have a severe intolerance. I have people, athletes especially, who have a carbohydrate threshold. I can use myself as an example. I have learned over the years that if I am around 75 grams of carbs or less, I can do phenomenal. I have no ill effects. I have no side effects. I perform great. I sleep great. Blood works great. And everything's wonderful. When I start creeping up over 75, get into triple figures, that's when the whole thing starts to shit the bed. So we have to determine what people's individual tolerance are. So if you're in poor metabolic health, you have an intolerance. If you have good metabolic health, you have a threshold, and it's important to differentiate between the two and determine what works for you.
Absolutely. Perfect. So Juliet's low carb autistic experience, $9.99. Thank you very much for the greenback dollars. We do like those greenbacks. They're much better than the Pacific pesos we have down here in the former New Zealand, now known as the communist regime of Hardonistan. That also pays for Ted's appearance fee for the day. So Ted, thanks you very much for that. Lovely. Let's hear what you had to say. Like you, I am left-handed. Excellent. That's the only way to be. late diagnosed autistic, just like me. Awesome. All 3 of my kids are autistic as well. We are not healed, but carnivore is giving us some peace and quieting the mental chatter. Yeah, that's it. It's all about the symptomology. Well, they say symptomology as if there's something wrong with us. No. No. God made me perfect.
Well, and even outside of autism, you see that so often with adolescents. You know, we have people, big pharma and centralized medicine, drugging up our children who are just trying to express themselves and be energetic and get out from behind their tablets and phones and enjoy and experience life. So we drug them to death, and we also fill them with processed foods and bullshit, which just adds to the problem. So I've seen that mitigated dramatically by putting kids on a whole food hypercarnivore diet and freeing themselves of all the processed bullshit and reducing the carbohydrate intake dramatically. And you see this dramatic calming effect occur in these children, and they become very productive, still energetic, but in a more useful, directed way. So I think we see that in all types of people.
Yep, including people that don't have autism, like Josephine C seems to be saying that he, she, shim, they, them have or don't have. Yep. Superpowers. Yeah, I feel like I've got superpowers some days too. Purely by,
100%.
Eating a species appropriate diet. And by the way, species appropriate diet has a range. This is not it's not about you must play the game the way we say.
Well, and you got me on so many rants here. I mean,
go on.
I understand if a 100% cooked muscle meat diet works for you. I think that's great. And I'm releasing a new video tomorrow at 3:00 that talks about that briefly. However, I can't really find a tribe, a culture, a society throughout human history that subsisted purely 100% of the time throughout their entire lives on nothing but cooked muscle meat. That was the goal, for sure, was to hunt, kill something, and bring that home and consume it nose to tail. But I think anybody who has hunted or knows hunting or knows survival or any bushcraft or anything like that knows there are going to be lean periods where killing something is not always an option, and you're going to run out of pemmican and jerky and whatever, and there's going to be some gathering that occurs. And even tribes that consume diets of like blood, milk, and raw meat, they're still getting, some carbohydrate matter indirectly from some of the milk and from some of the blood glycogen and things of that nature. So it just irritates me when the dogmatic crazy people out there start wagging their fingers and saying you should only eat ribeyes, salt, and water for the rest of your fucking life. And again, if that works for you, I applaud that, and I encourage you to continue to do that. But to suggest that everybody should be doing that across the board, I think is lunacy, and I think it's giving the carnivore community a bad rap.
Yeah, agreed. Very agreeable today, Rob. Very agreeable. It's good. Okay,
well,
go on.
That's awesome. No, it's awesome. And again, I have a lot of respect for your work, and I'm just a guy in the trenches. I'm the boots on the ground, and when I have reinforcement of my beliefs from somebody in your position, it does mean a lot, and I appreciate it. And then, this is the way the carnivore community is supposed to work, and then I can feed what I've learned from you, and we can all learn, and we can feed it to others, and we can build this community around being more helpful and like-minded instead of being dogmatic and pushing people away because they don't quite fit in with what your distorted ideology is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we were to do that, wouldn't that sound a bit like Cornelia and her cronies?
Well, as long as we're unburdened by what has been, then I think we're okay.
Yeah. No speaking the truth. You can't say words on the interwebs. In Australia, they're trying to pass a law currently to stop people saying words on the interwebs, words they don't like. You can say words they like, but words they don't like are not allowable, apparently, according to this law, this bill that they have put in front of the Australian Parliament.
It's insanity. I'm a 100% freedom advocate. That is how I describe myself politically. And obviously free speech 100% is part of that. And you're going to piss some people off, and that's okay. You can pull your panties out of your butt and move along. You can scroll away, you can move away. You don't have to listen, you don't have to watch it. But don't tell me how I can express myself. You can just go fuck off.
Correct. Agreed. Absolutely. But anyway, they want to make it illegal to criticise the government in Australia in any way, or be seen to be criticising the government in any way. They also want to make it illegal to say anything that could undermine confidence in the stock markets in any way, or the financial services in any way. So in other words, forecasting is going to be illegal because that might undermine...
No.
Yeah.
Does that include social media posts, like what Brazil has done with X? Is that a part of that same bill?
Yeah, the same thing. Well, the thing is, what they want to do is make it okay for someone in the government to say words, whatever words they want to say, or in universities for people that work in the universities and their students to say words, and some other, I forget what the other one was. There was one other group of people who are allowed to say words. Everybody else, including everybody on social media, can't say words according to this new law.
Yeah, it's a lord serf mentality,
yes.
And it's completely broken. And until people rise up and say no more, you know, we're all in deep shit for sure.
Yep. So, I eat 2 meals a day, says Livitastic. How do I know if the protein kicked me out of ketosis? Well, here's my answer. Who gives a fuck?
Thank you. You beat me to it. Damn it. I had that all lined up. I had that cocked and ready to go.
Yep. Who gives a fuck? If you're worried about the effect in terms of the sodium and other electrolyte retention, leakiness issues, ergo, what happened to Paul Salad, I don't know, and others, and or thyroid function stuffs, really to suggest that there's a problem, first of all, you would need to present with a problem. A lot of people, like when they want to consult with me one-on-one, they'll say, I'm going to send you all my bloods ahead of time. I say, don't fucking bother. Number one, I don't have time to read through your fucking labs before your appointment time. I'm not working for free. If you want me to look at your labs during the appointment time, I will, but I can tell you up front, it's a waste of fucking time.
Yep.
What are your symptoms? Fuck your labs. How's that?
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. I don't give a shit about what centralized medicine said. It goes so much deeper than that, and it requires such a deeper investigation, as you said, based on symptomology and true cause and effect.
Yep. There's also some talk in the background about people saying, oh, here's a meter that works, here's a good meter, here's a good way of testing your ketones to see whether it kicked you out of ketones. That will not work, guys. I'll tell you why. Ketones are in effect just little packets of acetyl units. Those acetyl units are added to your blood in the form of ketone bodies. They float around your blood, and cells around your body can uptake those acetyl units and stick them with a coenzyme A molecule inside those cells and then oxidize them through the Krebs cycle. So all you're measuring is what the level of ketones in your blood is, not in fact however many were produced or cut off at any given time. So also one of the ketone bodies is volatile, i.e. you'll breathe it out at the lungs, so that will throw that measurement off. Don't fucking bother. It's a waste of time and money, is what I'm saying. Anybody that disagrees with me is welcome to, but of course that's hate speech, according to the rules on this channel. Disagreeing with me, hate speech.
You should pass a bill.
I should. No saying hate speech on my channel. Anyone that disagrees with the words I like is a bigot and is guilty of hate speech. So saith Ted. All hail, Ted. Whatever. All right. So, I don't know. Ted, what do you think of everything I've had to say so far, Ted?
What, are you retarded?
That's what I thought you'd say.
Tough crowd.
I know. Tough. All right. Good. Andy likes eggs. I like eggs too. I can't have too many eggs though. I react badly if I have more than 2 at once for some reason. Whatever.
You know, I can have a dozen at a time and do totally fine. I'm so thankful for that too, because we have 21 chickens, and so I get fresh pastured eggs every single day. Yeah.
We're about to have some chickens too, Rob. It seems.
Yes.
We signed one of these things not that long ago.
No way.
Yeah. We bought a farm.
You bought a farm.
Yeah, well,
you son of a bitch.
A farmlet. It's
you son of a bitch.
I know.
I want a farm. You son of a bitch. Well, congratulations, man. I think that's incredible.
Welcome. Does anybody know how to convert hectares to acres? so I can speak to you in freedom units as to the size of this thing. I'll do a calculation here while we're at it. Convert hectares to acres. There we go. Unit converter online. Nice. Okay, from how many hectares? Whoops. Hit the right numbers and it'll be better. It is 38 acres.
That's a lot of land.
That's enough for some cows and chickens and ducks and...
Oh, for sure. Yeah, goats and all kinds of good shit. Yeah, we're gonna do meat. We're gonna do meat chickens next. So we're gonna get a giant freezer and raise meat chickens, and like 6 or 8 at a time. We will raise them and then, slaughter them and put them in the freezer as whole chickens and get a whole stockpile. So that's going to be the next step for us. And our end game as well is to get some acreage, and we'd like to get somewhere between 25 and 50 acres as well. So that's phenomenal. So when are you going to, on this property, host the first Bart Kay Freedom Summit that we can all fly over and attend?
Well, we've actually gone a step further than that, I think, Rob. We've decided, in our infinite wisdom, Ted and I, and, well, Pim's on board as well because, well, she knows the law here about hate speech, basically. That's why she's on board with absolutely everything.
Well, she'd have to be.
Well, of course, yes. We have decided that we are actually going to secede from New Zealand. We're going to form our own sovereign nation, the sovereign nation of Pimbatia. And we're going to have our own laws and regulations and things. And we thought what we might do is, well, what many small countries do, and that is we're going to sell citizenships to the sovereign nation of Pimbatia, for which you will receive a flag, a passport allowing you entry to Pimbatia, which you'll have to pass through New Zealand to get there, of course, but, that's just a small detail. And upon crossing the border to Pimbatia, you will once again be allowed to say words, any words you like, actually, so long as they agree with my words.
Imagine that.
Yes. It'll be.
Can I get some kind of a cabinet position?
Yes, you could be the prime minister if you like. We haven't got one of those yet.
I've always wanted to be a prime minister.
There you go. You could be the prime minister or the premier. I don't know.
It's got a nice ring to it.
Ted's the king, so that's taken. Her Majesty Pim, Queen of Pirates, Mother of Puppies, the Unpoked, first of her name, will be sovereign head of state. Chief Cook and Bottle Wash, well, that's yours truly, this bad bald man. I shall be doing exactly as I'm told. In reality, in the real world, when the cameras aren't, that's what I'll be doing.
Of course.
Plus, I'll be earning the money to make it all happen a bit.
Yeah.
And Her Majesty will be looking after the animals and doing that stuff and things. It's going to be good. Yeah.
I love it.
But anyway, if anyone would like a flag from the sovereign state of Pimbatia, a passport and a certificate saying that you are a citizen of Pimbatia and that you understand that you're free to say anything you like so long as it agrees with me. I don't know what we're going to charge for it yet. I mean, some of these countries are charging $200,000 for a passport. We'll make it cheaper.
It's a little steep for me. Yeah.
We'll make it cheaper than that. So if anybody wants to, let me know how much you're prepared to pay for such a citizenship. Yeah. Yep. DC, good to see you, DC. Yeah, here we go. 3 years in jail in Queensland now for offending a moron. In other words, if you say words in Australia that morons don't like, they can put you in prison for 3 years for it.
No shit.
Incredible. Speaking
Unreal.
of incredible, anyone that doesn't know DC's story, you need to learn DC's story. DC did an interview with me a while back where he told his story. Incredible story of survival, really. DC is a survivor of cancer.
Wow, I need to watch that.
Yep. Basically, he was told, get ready because you're done for. Turns out he wasn't.
Outstanding.
Yep. So there it is. Look, good to see you, DC, by the way. Very good to see you. Oh, jumping chat window. I hate that when it happens. Anyway, let's have some super chat action. We love that. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat. That won't be enough for a citizenship, I'm afraid, to Pimbatia. Well, I better talk to my cabinet about that, including the Prime Minister, as to what price we should set on that. Anyway, what have you got to say? I heard on YouTube. What did you hear on YouTube? Not to eat after dark. Well, depends if you're a vampire with sharp, pointy teeth or not. I think that's one of the things that's thrown out there as, one of the things to keep an eye on. I don't think it's that important. I have a list of 5 things that a person should do in their life to have the best likelihood of health and longevity and all of that stuff. And that's not on my list of 5. It might be 6 or below. It might be number 600. I don't know. What do you think? Not eating after dark.
I think it's interesting because if you dip your toe a little bit into circadian biology and look at some of that stuff, it is compelling that if you, like, especially for the group out there that wants to do feeding windows or even, a compressed feeding window, I personally feel, and I think some clients of mine have reaped the reward of this, is to have that feeding window earlier in the day. So to have your first fat and protein meal at sunrise, ideally out in the sunrise, and then compress that feeding window earlier in the day. That way, when you do start to get the body prepared to reset and have cellular regeneration and repair through the sleep cycle, which generally some research suggests, for whatever that's worth, occurs somewhere around 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. So I think there is some validity in making sure that you do fall asleep with the least amount of digestive matter in your digestive tract. So I think that does carry some weight. So oftentimes I will recommend that if somebody is intermittent fasting, they might want to try having their feeding window compressed earlier in the day rather than begin like at 11 a.m. or noon and go later in the day. And I have had some feedback from clients. It's been 3 women. No men have reported back on that it has helped them and they've done well. And I don't know how much truth there is to that, but it does make sense. And my wife also is the type that if she eats after sunset, it's pretty much a guaranteed poor night's rest. And she has some issues with that. But if we can eat before sunset and go to bed with a resting digestive tract, we seem to do much better. So for whatever that's worth.
Yep. Agreed. Once again. Excellent. Good. All right. If your microbiome is producing butyrate, will that mess with the finger prick ketone test, thinking you're in ketosis, but actually it's gut bacteria that are just making ketones? Right. 2 comments. Number 1, still, who gives a fuck? Still. Secondly, no, that won't happen because the finger prick test tests the ketones added to your blood by the liver via ketosis. Butyrate being produced by the gut flora on the lumen side, that butyrate is absorbed by those enteric cells and used there to oxidize via the Krebs cycle for energetic purpose there. So your enteric cells are not going to feed ketones into your blood, only the liver does that. So no. But still, who gives a fuck? Still.
See, I just learned something. So there you go.
Yes. Yes, many of us that are involved here in social media influencing do indeed undertake the consulting with individuals behind the scene about various issues. Rob is one of those. Of course he is.
Yep.
I'm a lot cheaper than Paul Salad I don't know, who charges $1,000 per hour or part thereof to tell people to pour honey and sugar down their fucking necks.
Are you shitting me?
I shit you not.
$1,000 to talk to that son of a bitch?
Yep. Wow.
To tell you to eat 47 mangoes before fucking lunch?
Yep. So that's Darwin in action, frankly. If you want to pay $1,000 an hour to hear that bullshit from some fucking imbecile like Paul Salad I don't know, well, that's your funeral, pal. Go for it.
Holy shit.
Don't come and fucking ask me to sort it out once you've fucked yourself up that way.
I'm clearly doing something wrong.
Yeah, so am I. Clearly. $1,000 an hour to pour sugar down your neck. Good. Woo. Yep. Anyway, there it is. Yes, Rebecca, let's rise in revolution. Yes. You and the Master Sergeant can rally the troops. Ted will be the general, and the rest of us will bravely stand behind you. Yes, that's what we'll do.
I love Rebecca. Rebecca takes
She's awesome.
no shit.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She takes no shit in my carnivore group, and I love having her there. And I appreciate all she does and the feedback she gives, and it's been very helpful. She's awesome.
Yep. Cool. All right. Question from Lotto Retirement Strategist. That's probably not a great strategy, by the way. Awaking fasted glucose of 67. It was 97. Okay, is that just one-off test or is that trend over time? Because that's quite important to know as well. Mm-hmm. Taking 0.4 milligrams of some horseworm or other. BID. Daily, twice a day. To lower glucose and fasted for 3 days. Breaking the fast tomorrow, ribeye or 2 eggs and 22 yolks. Cutting daily horsewormer in half. All right, well, that's not really a question, is it? I don't see a question there, Lotto Retirement Strategist. You know how I said Lotto wasn't probably the best strategy for retirement? I would also suggest that strategy that you've just outlined there is similarly not the best strategy for weight loss or control of your blood glucose. If it works for you in the short term, though, great, whatever. I wouldn't suggest that that's probably something that I would get behind personally. What do you think, Rob? Don't forget the laws on hate speech, though.
Okay, well, let me keep that in mind. I'm not sure that I understand the inclusion of the pharmaceutical intervention there for whatever the goal was. So just color me a little bit confused on that one. Mm-hmm. And still don't understand why there has to be some ratio of 22 egg yolks and like, what was it, 2 whole eggs or whatever it was. So I guess I'm just a little confused on what the overriding question was.
Yeah, well, there wasn't one.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, I don't see a question there. There's no question mark on the end of it.
Well, then why the hell did you ask me to answer it?
Well, just because I wanted to see what you'd say about someone that wants to do something like that. I was hoping that you might say, Jesus, who have you been listening to? Is it Paul Sellard? I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of information out there. If you dig hard enough, you can find a study that says bunny farts cure cancer. So
yes, or if you dig very, very carefully, and your name is James DeNicolantonio, you can find a study that absolutely proves Bart Kay wrong. So you can.
One of the most idiotic, annoying human beings I've ever encountered on the interwebs.
Yes, and his study that absolutely proves Bart Kay wrong. That one. It turns out it was an opinion piece with not one single data point in it anywhere.
Yeah.
Pathetic. Good, James. Well done, son. Well done. Yes, all right. Anyway, that's for another day. Love it, Jeremy. You rock. Carry on, soldier. That's exactly as it should be. I'll tell you why. The level of LDL in a person's body at any given time is almost entirely under the control directly of that person's genes, and those genes have survived the entirety of the existence of genes. They really know what they're doing in that regard. I think we should probably just actually get out of the way and let that happen. There's a reason for it.
I have absolutely zero care or concern what my cholesterol numbers are. Yep. I don't give 2 shits. I finally found a doctor that also gives 0 fucks about it. And Excellent. It's never going to be something, it's never a thought that goes into my head. And in fact, I hadn't thought of it until this question popped up or that comment popped up. So absolutely fantastic. I think that's great. If your trigs are good and everything else is rolling along smoothly, then continue on there, young camper. You're doing great.
Yeah, indeed. Those of you that are congratulating me, I presume, on the purchase, maybe you wouldn't congratulate me quite so much if you could read the price that I've agreed to pay.
Wow.
I am scared. That's why we're selling citizenships to Pumbaa, so that we can pay the fucking mortgage on that. Anyway.
Well, it's an awesome investment and I'm super happy for you. That is also my end game, so I'm jealous.
Yeah. So there it is. Rebecca's jealous of the chickens.
Congratulations.
Very good.
Yeah.
Right. No, thank you very much for all of that. Get back to me in a year or so when I've been paying that mortgage to see if I still feel like it was a good thing. Jesus.
Hey, somebody book a consult with Bart. He needs the money.
Yes, I need $1,000 an hour, and I won't tell you to pour glucose or honey or fruit or anything similar down your stupid fucking neck. In fact, I'll tell you the opposite.
Charge 900 and they've got a bargain.
There you go. See, it's $100 off.
Yeah.
Straight away.
And you get actual usable information.
Yeah. There it is. How are you going for time, Rob? Are you?
Oh, if I go home, that means I have to do work. So please, for God's sake, ask more questions.
Well, good. Awesome. Well, we'll stick around, folks, as long as you've got questions or comments that are worth hearing or answering. We've been going 55 minutes, so whatever. If there aren't heaps of questions that come through with huge super chats appended because I need to pay a very large mortgage, as you now all know.
Come on, pony up, people. Let's
pony
go.
up. Yep. Because the other thing I have to do is pay Ted his appearance fee, which is, well, see, Ted thinks of himself and identifies as a giant in the entertainment industry, and as such, his pronouns are fee, fi, fo, fum. He thinks he's important because he also does the voice for the fictional character Brian Blessed, as you may have worked out already if you were listening when he was saying a few things earlier. Yeah, there's this fictional character that supposedly is a real human being, supposedly living in the UK, who supposedly is a thespian of some note and a Shakespearean of some note, and also an opera singer with a huge voice. That's actually Ted. That's Ted that's been doing that all along. People don't know that, and that's why he thinks he's worth so much more money than he really is. Yes, Pumbaa will be where it all happens. Yes, there will definitely be a nationwide establishment party. I think we'll dig several pits, put some coals in them, and put a spit over each one, and put some useless fucking animals over said pits and turn them around. That'll be the left wing folks, not the actual animals. They're useful. We're not going to eat those left wing folks because who'd want to get soyified? But we're still going to roast them over a spit because, well, that's what you do.
Meat. That's bad meat right there.
We'll probably feed that to I was going to say to the dogs, but no, the dogs are actually, our dogs are great. We don't want to feed them any soyified nonsense either. I don't know. Maybe we'll just be doing a public service getting rid of them. No. Well, the house on the property is 250 square meters, and there are a number of sleeping quarters available. If we know in advance that you're visiting and you've paid your fee to be a citizen of Pumbaa, and you're able to pass through the former New Zealand, which is now the communist state of Hardonistan, then fine. If you can rock up to the borders of Pumbaa, you'll be met there by Ted and the other Sentry guards to make sure your passport is in order, of course. I think I'm starting to like this idea more and more, actually.
I dig it. I'm absolutely loving it. Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, Nin. Good to see you, Nin. Nin is a good friend of mine. Nin is a clinician in the former Australia, now known as the communist totalitarian state of Albostan. That's the state that they've decided that people can't say words on the interwebs or you'll go to prison for 3 years or something. So, yes, precarious times indeed. So Nin is a naturopath in Australia. Anyone that's looking for a naturopath in Australia, Nin is definitely your person.
Nice.
Yeah, and she, they, them, her. She's a woman, and she knows she's one. Yep, very good.
I like her already.
Yep. I typically only get carbs from dairy, says Opal Raza. Okay, but I can't lie. I feel better when I do. Yeah, that's to say. I mean, there is variation around what's ideal for any given person, so long as you're not pouring hundreds and hundreds of grams of this down your neck. All good.
Yeah,
I think.
for sure. I've got a client who's just doing outrageously good, and he seemed to start trending much better when we added raw kefir and raw milk into his regimen. And he will then occasionally bring in a little bit of fruit, but it's rare. But with the addition of the raw dairy has worked wonders for him, and the guy is just an absolute beast. So I get that.
Yep. Awesome. I recently have also added quite a bit of kefir to my diet because Pim decided to start making it. So
lucky bastard.
I know. Awesome. And as such, I've actually found it good. I haven't found any negative reaction to it that I'm aware of, and I do react badly to milk, absolutely, without any question. So it being fermented.
Are you talking about homogenized,
like
store-bought milk or raw milk?
Yeah, homogenized, store-bought, pasteurized milk.
No good.
Yeah.
I never touch the shit. Never.
I react to that stuff terribly, but kefir, even if it's made from that, seems to be, we get the whole fat, but it's still pasteurized. And then we put the kefir grain, well, she puts the kefir grains, I don't do fuck all. She puts the kefir grains in and makes it so, and it's fine. Lovely.
Outstanding.
Right. It's, once again, more sensible commentary there from the floor, in this case from Nin, the naturopath. It's all individual. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we can't be sure what people did millions of years ago, but I think we can go on a little bit of common sense. I mean, again, if you know anything about hunting, even though that our hunter-gatherer ancestors were the most prolific hunters of all time, I think it's safe to say that a kill wasn't always guaranteed, and meat wasn't always going to be in amazing abundance, especially during certain seasons where it was colder or in lean times based on your geography. So I think it's safe to say that there was going to be some consumption of foods outside that meat realm. You ever watch this silly show over here called Naked and Afraid?
I've heard of it, and I think I've watched 1 or 2 episodes.
It's interesting and it's entertaining for sure. But, I was watching an episode a while back, and they had a guy on there who was an outstanding hunter back in the States. And that's what he did for a living. He was a hunting guide. He was a professional hunter, had been on massive big game hunts. And then in that environment for 40 days, he had nothing but a primitive bow and a knife, and did get 3 kills during that 40 days.
Nice.
But there was several stretches during that 40 days where he was completely unsuccessful. And then you see the 8 members of his little, naked tribe doing whatever they had to do to sustain energy by going with foods outside of the meat realm. And they were foraging figs, and some of them were doing insects, and some of them were doing wild spinach just to sustain themselves, to have a little bit of energy until another kill happened, which didn't happen until very late in the challenge. I think like around day 35. So, I think that's a fairly accurate depiction of what probably would have happened over the course of our human history. So again, I think to suggest that there have been long periods of time where human beings were subsisting solely on nothing but meat, I think is probably very inaccurate. And I don't think we should hold up our ideology based on that.
Yep, agreed. Is there an award?
Of course, I could be wrong.
Yes.
I could be wrong.
Well, I thought I was wrong once, but I was mistaken about that. Is there an award for the biggest brown-nosing fraud online? I could probably suggest a few potential recipients. What do you think? Who do you think is well, it's hard to pick the one biggest because there's so many of these cunts, aren't there?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of fake people and people that aren't doing what they say they're doing online. And, just be yourself, be true to yourself, say what you're going to say, live the life you're going to live, be very transparent about it, and don't take any bullshit. I mean, I'm used to having daggers thrown at me, and I still don't give a shit because I'm true to myself. And, I live by one mantra: your care for others is your measure of greatness. And I try to, throughout my entire day, if I can be helpful to someone and do something for somebody else, then my life is amplified as a result. And I think there are people out there that are just in it for the money. And that's a terrible place to be. And at the end of the day, I think they're going to pay for that. They're going to be very lonely, miserable people, because we know that while money is a wonderful thing, it certainly doesn't cure all ills. And, you got to be true to yourself. So,
yeah.
Who would you pick?
Who is the biggest brown-nosing fraud? Not necessarily a brown-noser, but the biggest fraud. I would have to give a first equal prize to several people. I think Joel Kant is up there, purely because of his evil, misanthropic misrepresentation of what science is. and his claim to be competent as a scientist when he's actually nothing of the sort. I dealt with him recently when he was doing a debate with Ken Berry, which was a new record on my channel in a single video for me referring to next Tuesday.
Nice.
Basically, if anybody's interested in that, it was 2 hours and 9 minutes of me saying exactly what I think about Joel Kahn. So there's that. I think Mike the Vegan is one of the most offensive, arrogant little turds in existence without the first clue of what he's talking about whatsoever. Yep. I dislike Simon Hill extremely for the same reason, claiming to be competent when he's nothing of the sort. How about not a Dr. Gregor?
Oh, my God.
A bloke who's never practiced medicine, not a single day in his life, running around claiming to be an MD. If you don't eat your fruits and vegetables, Rob, you might die. Did you know that?
And even though his physique is very impressive,
of course,
and he looks very young for his
like
age.
Like a 6-year-old girl, you mean?
It's just that guy is a walking joke, and I can't believe people are swindled by his horse shit.
Yeah.
You know who's somebody who's just annoying the piss out of me even far more than he always did. And it's probably no secret, but Lane Norton.
Oh, fuck Lane Norton. Here we go. Yep, go.
Has just gone off the fucking rails. I mean, the guy, he used to speak some truth, some nonsense, some gray area, but recently, for what I don't know if somebody's paying him or what the fuck is going on, but that guy has just went off the rails with his bullshit. And I just don't understand how he hasn't lost all credibility, or at least a significant percentage of his credibility, because that guy is just annoying the piss out of me.
Yeah, I can help you with why he still has some apparent credibility. In general, on average, people are fucking stupid. That's why. I mean, if your IQ is 100, 50% of the people in the world are stupider than you are, even at 100 IQ. People like you and I, Rob, well, we're another breed apart, aren't we? Yeah. Somebody wants to know Ted's story about why he's quite so one-eyed about things. I can help you with that. About 50-odd years ago, just over, some little bald bastard at that time chewed his fucking eye out when he was teething. And he's never forgiven me for it. Have you, Ted? That's right. We've been together 50 plus years, Ted and I. He knows everything. That's why I keep him on, so that he can't actually speak behind the scenes. And that's why you can't actually do a collaboration with Ted, Jonathan. Harry Sopanos ended up doing one day, unexpectedly. I was expected, but I was actually banned on YouTube at the time for saying words, which you can't do. And so Ted showed up in my stead, and he really did steal the show. Anyone that wants to see that, it's on my channel in highlights version anyway. You should check that one out. It was as funny as a fight. Yes. Right. Would I ever return to the UK, but not for the Carnival conference? No, I wouldn't. I'll tell you why not. At the moment I step a foot in the UK, I think His Majesty's Constabulary will want to have a word to me about one or two things. Nothing to do with saying words, actually, although they might want to talk to me about that too. But no, actually, I'm probably, there's probably a warrant for me there. I don't know if there is or not, but there probably is. That's a long story too, Rob. I'll tell you that story one day behind the scenes.
Yeah, apparently I'd like to hear it.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, that's for another day. Right, questions. Rob, do you know a place for raw milk in NC towards the Greensboro area?
Not to the Greensboro area, but I will say that we've been fortunate here because our farmers market has 2 vendors that come 2 days a week, and they take orders for raw milk, and then they bring it to you the next time they come. And around here, they label the raw milk not for human consumption, for livestock only, which is a way to get around the government horse shit. So that's how we've been getting it recently. And it's working out spectacularly. So I go on Monday. It's open Monday and Wednesday here, our local farmers market. I go on Monday, tell them how much I want. I pick it up on Wednesday. It's like a drug deal. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Ooh, good thinking, Nin. Nin's just put us another one for slimy, the award for the most slimy brown noser. Yes, Furman. She's talking about Furman there.
Said need to be jailed?
Yeah, Furman said that the people online promoting the carnivore diet need to all be incarcerated for so doing because, well, he's a card-carrying priest of the High Church of Anorexia Vegana, so of course he'd say that. But that just reminds me also, I did an interview a while back with Professor Westman, and he was relating a story in that interview, which you might want to watch. It's on my channel, whereby he got up to ask questions of Joel Fuhrman at a conference and basically tore the boy to bits because that's not hard with vegans.
Right.
They made him write a letter to Joel Fuhrman apologizing for having done so. Wow.
Eric Westman is such a good dude.
Yeah. And I can't believe he agreed to write that letter. Well, he's a gentleman and he's a professional. He's like, okay, fine, I'll write the letter.
No, I actually have a Westman story. Years ago when I was just coming into this space and doing the online thing, I reached out to him, and long story short, we corresponded online for about half an hour, and he had no idea who I was. And he's this very respected gentleman who I, have the utmost respect and esteem for. And he's just one of these guys that will, talk to a complete stranger and answer as many questions, give as much information as possible. And I've never forgotten that. And it always meant a lot to me that he did that. He's a gentleman.
Yeah, absolutely. And while we're speaking of gentlemen, plant chompers, otherwise known as Chris McCaskill, not a gentleman, slimy, condescending, arrogant cunt, liar, misrepresenter of science. You heard it first here, boys and girls. We're not friends, he and I. Chris McCaskill, you're a cunt. What's next? Well, that's the end of advertising for this one, if it wasn't already. Anyway. Yeah. Oh, really? Do you think so, Dan? Lame takes the gear? Shock me. Rightio, question from Nin. If you've been keto for many years, can you carnivore overnight or best transition over a couple of months? Rob?
I have not seen any issue with immediately diving in. I mean, obviously, if you've not been on a ketogenic diet and have no level of adaptation, then you should slowly transition. Not that kind of transition, a different kind of transitioning.
No, we're not for that kind of transitioning here.
No, none of that.
God had a plan, and he's right. Sorry, carry on.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I usually tell clients that come in that are on a heavy carb diet or standard Western diet or something of that effect to slowly reduce their carbohydrate intake by roughly 25%, over periods of time until they adjust their butt bacteria. No, not that one. Their gut bacteria to be able to tolerate the massively reduced carbohydrate load and readjust everything. But I've not seen any evidence where people who are on a well-structured ketogenic diet need to do that. I don't know what you think about that.
I always tell people don't change your diet from anything to anything else without transitioning in some way gently. But I've also, like you, never seen any evidence that someone that's been keto for a long time can't just jump.
Right.
Depending on how much... It depends on how dirty your keto has been, really.
Right. Like that's why I tried to throw in there well-structured, because I know for myself in 2019, I went from a very vegetable-heavy diet to literally overnight, just ditched it all, just removed it all, and just did phenomenal. I mean, there was no adjustment. I felt better immediately, and I just, it was a game changer for me, and I never went back, except for the onions, of course.
Yeah. Dan, to answer your question about Harry, how is Harry? As far as I'm aware, last time I spoke to Harry, Harry's fine. Harry is remarkably silent these days. He doesn't have much to say whatsoever. And the reason for that is because he's not allowed to say anything until at least November, because he's one of these people that thinks that he's justified in saying words on the interwebs. And the interwebs didn't like the words he said, and ergo they said you can't say any more words until November. And by the way, if you say naughty words again, you might be in even bigger trouble, is what they said. So that's how Harry is. You can imagine Harry holding his tongue for 3 months. Fuck me, can you imagine how it's going to be when he gets back? Woo! Yes.
I hear that.
Yes. No, I will be avoiding the UK. Thank you very much. Yeah, I will be. Yes. Okay. Scanning for questions or, notable commentaries. Here's a question. Is the marker test for LPPLA2 activity, lipoprotein-associated phospholipase A2, strongly associated with inflammation in blood vessels and thus heart disease? Is it a strong enough association? My answer to that is I have no fucking idea. I'd have to go and look at the literature. Do you think I'm an encyclopedia?
Yeah. I was about to say, I'm going to sit this one out.
Yeah. Fuck knows. You tell us. That sounds like something you've been looking into. Yeah, no, I've got no idea. I don't know everything off the top of my head. But that's the great thing about knowing how to find information online, having spent 2 decades doing that, is that you can find it. Although apparently, I actually got a message from someone today saying, your academic profile on Google has disappeared. That's interesting, isn't it?
Are we back to that shit again?
Apparently, not only can you not say words on the interwebs, but actually, if you're a persona non grata, according to the fine folks at Sideways 8, those folks, apparently then they will take down your academic profile, your published works. Well, okay then. See if I give a fuck. I mean, those works still exist in the literature if you know how to find them and where to find them. And hint, those of you that are looking for my huge publication record, you won't find it. There's a reason for that. For God's sake, use your brains. It's because I've made it so that you can't find it. If you want a paper on any given topic that I've authored, some number of hundreds of those it is, then just let me know and I'll tell you if I've got a paper about that and send it to you if it's, something that you're genuinely interested in. If you're a vegan, by the way, just looking to discredit my made-up academic background that never actually occurred, just fuck off. You're an idiot. And if that's your best shot at my arguments, what you're actually saying is you can't assail my arguments because now you want to try and take a shot at me personally. Oh dear. Yes, Harry does occasionally show up in the chat here, where he's allowed to still say words here on this channel, so long as he's careful about what words he says. No mentioning not academic. No mentioning medicinal interventions of a certain kind that may have been a bad idea, it seems. Any last-minute advice before I have my nuclear radiation tracer bone test tomorrow? I'll be paralysed from the waist down for about 4 hours. Well, that takes out fiddling with yourself during that time, I guess, doesn't it? Unless you just want to fiddle with a non-reactive thing. What do you think, Rob? What should Jonathan do while he's paralysed?
Don't go for a run. Don't go for a run.
No, don't try that. No. Don't know, Jonathan. Maybe sleep it off. Are you going to be conscious for this whole thing? I suppose you would be. It's only a radiation tracer test. I say only.
That none of that is in my area of expertise at all. So
yeah,
I just wish him the best of luck, and I hope he does well with it.
Yep, I hope you pass the test, because if you have to resit the test next semester or something, that would be annoying, wouldn't it? Because you actually don't want that kind of dose of rads too often in your life. Frankly, people that say, "Should I get a CAC test every year?" I say, "Fuck no." The dose of radiation you get on one of those things is way more than any X-ray or any of that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yes.
I get blood work once a year. That's it. That's all I do. Period. That's it.
Yeah. Just some of my published research. Apparently there's a site you can still find it. There you go. There's some of it. You're right. It's not all there by any stretch at all. And there's a reason why it's not all there, as I said, on that list. Okay, maybe I have more than one legal identity. Here's a hint. Fucking idiots. All right, and would I use the actual one online? I don't know. Carnival muscle. If you're talking a contrast, 800 milligrams every 2 hours of NAC before testing may protect the kidneys. May not too. That's the thing about the word may. It's great in science when you write may because it means you can write whatever you like. This may be associated with that. This may cause that. Food car. Yes, okay, good. Right, more questions. Any benefits on OMAD lion diet of doing extended, maybe 48 hours fasting once in a while? How often do you recommend it? What extra benefits may there be as opposed to OMAD? Okay, what do you think about fasting intermittently for several days at a time?
I have never found any benefit beyond 24 to 36 hours for myself, and I only do that probably 2 or 3 times a year, just to clean things out, kind of reset things. I think autophagy is a bit overrated. It's become a buzzword, and in fact, for me, in terms of recommending to my clientele, I just say occasionally do a 24-hour fast, reset your gut, reset your digestive tract, and move on. I think you're fine. I think these chronic long-term bouts of fasting that people are engaging in are about, I don't think there's any great benefit from doing that. Just like I think cold plunges are overrated. So, and it also goes back to, if that's something you do and you feel like you're getting benefit and you feel great, then do it. If it doesn't feel any different than a 24-hour fast on occasion, then I don't see any reason why you have to go through that horse shit.
Yep. Follow-up question, although unrelated completely, from Matthew. Can you do a video on that stuff he was talking about before? Well, it sounds like you know more about it than either one of us. Why don't you make the fucking video on it? I'll watch it. I might learn something. Who knows? Okay. Well, here's one we left off the list before, that fucking troll doll. That little, you know that little troll doll with the hair? Yeah. Arlo. Now, listen. Apparently in America, people with his qualification are allowed to call themselves a doctor. He's fucking not. He's an osteopath, right? He's an osteopath that runs a cath lab. A technician could do that. A trained fucking monkey could do that. This boy is an absolute imbecile. He's an idiot. He knows fuck all.
Rock throwing guy?
Yeah, no, that's not him. Well, he does throw rocks, but not the guy you're thinking about.
Who's the weird rock throwing guy?
That was some friend of some bloke whose name I forget. Joey Swartz.
Oh, have you kept up with any of that? That's some cringy horse shit over there.
Nope. Why would I? I mean, I always take. Maybe, but I always take nutrition advice from completely untrained 20-year-olds who have a high school diploma and no more, and who
apparently now it's less about that and it's more about following his advice to become extremely wealthy. I think that's what he's doing.
Is he extremely wealthy? I doubt it.
I don't have a fucking clue.
Well, neither does he on anything. Fucking yeah. Woo. Yep. Yes, and also the stem cell nutrition, Jonathan, is a very good idea. Thereafter, you can get it from Nin if you don't want to get it from me. I don't care. I'll still get paid if you get it from Nin. That's how these things work, basically. Yes, absolutely. Right, good. All right. Yes, good. Insert over-specific, overbearing, and over-nuanced questions, and then demand I answer them free of charge. Yes, of course. I'd love to answer your questions free of charge. Yep. Again, also people, who work as a cath lab operator in the States are allowed to call themselves a cardiologist if they have a degree, which also allows them to use the title doctor, even though they're not doctors. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. It says he's a cardiologist, but he's not. He's not a cardiologist's asshole. He's legally allowed to use it. I'm not saying he isn't. I'm just saying, well, I wouldn't trust that boy to tell me the difference between my elbow and my asshole if I labeled both of those and taught him how to read. Basically. Yeah. Coincidence is what the cause of all of that is, isn't it, Rob? Coincidence is what's occurring to all the young, fit football players and others.
Yeah, is nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. Perfectly normal. Move on.
Nothing happening here. No, nothing going on.
Nothing to see here. And don't, for goodness sake, say any words about anything that's going on here, or you might end up like Harry.
No, total coincidence.
Yes. Yes.
Move along.
That's it.
Move along.
Done. All right. I think that's the bottom of the chat window. I think we've covered everybody's everything, including our own asses. Hopefully. Maybe. If not, see you in my new channel, which I'll start having had this one banned. Keep an eye out for that. It'll be called The Truth About Veganism or something like that, because that'll really get a boost on the Al Gore's rhythms. Al Gore loves his rhythms about vegans.
He loves his rhythms.
I'll also make sure that I say absolutely that adhering to such a lifestyle will absolutely have a positive effect on the environment, even though there's no evidence that that is so.
Yes, and Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself.
Did he not? Neither did a number of people that were friends with the same evil family of individuals. They didn't either.
Yep.
It was all coincidence, all of it.
Yep.
Right. Good. More questions from Matthew. He's not finished yet. Think there's any risks of eating rare steak? No more than anything else, really. Seared on the outside and cooked to 125 on the inside. Dr. Google warns of bacteria. Well, absolutely. If you want to take health advice from Dr. Google, you fill your boots up. That's all right with me. Yes, it was, wasn't it?
Do you think there is an elevated risk of parasitic activity from the chronic consumption of raw meat as opposed to lightly cooked meat?
I've not seen anything that would convince me evidentially that that is so. It's mostly because I actually rail against anyone telling me anything about risk. Risk, they say. There are no studies extant anywhere in the literature on this planet that can inform you, Rob Goodwin, about your risk of anything under any circumstances whatever. No. So it would be speculation. And as a scientist, I rail against speculation. That's kind of what I do. Yeah.
Good.
Right.
Good.
You're welcome, Andy. I'm happy to answer questions for free during these question and answer sessions. There'll be another one on Saturday night, US time, Europe time, well, afternoon in the US, evening in the UK. It's Sunday morning for those of us on the sensible side of the formerly sensible side of the planet. We've lost our fucking minds here too. That's why we're seceding, by the way, from New Zealand and forming the independent sovereign nation of Pumbaa. So if you send us all your money, we might consider giving you a passport and a flag and a certificate or something like that, that you're a member of the sovereign nation of Pumbaa. And
I want a flag for my shelf back there.
I think for being a willing contestant here on the game show this evening, Rob, I think we'll probably send you one anyway.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I look forward to that.
All right, look, it's been a pleasure, Rob. As usual, you're a gentleman, a scholar, and a hoot, and we love it. You're also got your head screwed on, you know what's what, which is awesome. Ergo, there's no hate speech here between you and I. It's all agreement.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
Nothing but respect.
Yep.
I really appreciate your time. I'd like to come and spend time with you more often. And it's always a pleasure. And when I say this is the best channel on YouTube, I believe it. And I think that's the truth. And your following is great. And I'm just honored to be here, man. I appreciate it.
Excellent. Yep. Thank you for your time as well, Rob. Appreciate it very much. Appreciate you.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Yes, tell us your YouTube channel handle.
I'm not it's Rob Goodwin Fitness.
Yep.
I'm not a 20-year-old basket case that's going to shit the bed and leave the herd anytime soon. So you don't have to worry about that. But no, again, in all seriousness, I do appreciate it. It's always a pleasure talking to you. It's been amazing, and I'd love to do it again sometime.
All right. Well, that just leaves one thing to do, and that is, of course, to sing the national anthem of Pumbaa. And it goes a little bit something like this. Steak and eggs and eggs and steak. That's what you should have for your breakfast. Delicious. Eggs and steak and steak and eggs. Just making sure you heard. We got it. Excellent. Right. Join us next time when probably someone will be wrong on the interwebs because it doesn't look like slowing down anytime soon, does it, Rob?
No chance, my friend.
Bye-bye.
See ya.